From the shining domicile that is Pittsburgh Comics, my old mannered comic shop owner, Colin McMahon, transforms into the world's greatest comic book talking TV host. Join us, true believers, for Comics Now!
Hey everybody, welcome to Comics Now for February 2020. Now February is always an odd month because it's cold and it's a short month and not a lot's going on in the world. We do have Valentine's Day and we have Groundhog Day, which everybody gets very excited about, especially in Pennsylvania. But overall, the publishers, generally not a lot's going on. They're kind of recovering. They had their big surge at the holidays and then they're gearing up for their the big spring stuff because they always like to have new things going on at Free Comic Book Day. So February is always a little bit of a slower month, but it's a month that I enjoy greatly because as a member of Comics Pro, we always have our annual meeting in February. February's quiet as far as conventions and things going on like that, so it's a nice, easy way to get our annual meeting in when other things aren't going on to interfere. Comics Pro is an organization of comic book retailers, and it was set up probably about 15 years ago, for stores to have a voice, because too often we found that stores talking to a publisher and then the publisher says, well, we haven't heard that from anyone else. So they kind of tried to get more and more retailers together to speak with a larger voice. And that was kind of the original intention. And every year they'd have a meeting and the publishers would come and they'd talk and things like that. Well, things have changed a little bit. Some of the bigger publishers have gotten a little more corporate and aren't listening as much, which is fine. That's their business. But so we've kind of morphed a little bit into educational organization and teaching one another and learning from one another and kind of best practices and helping everybody do well. So we always have our annual meeting in February, and this year and last year I'm on the board of directors, so I'm really excited about it this year. Last year I was having to run again and was a nervous bundle of energy there, but this year now I'm in for a couple more years, so I'm kind of excited. And we'll see how it goes. So I will be talking to all the publishers that come. Not all of them are coming, but most of them are. And it's a real good place for the smaller publishers to talk. So if you have any questions, any things you want me to ask, what's coming up, when are some graphic novels, things like that coming out, let me know. It's coming up, I forget exactly. It's like the third week of February. So I'll be heading out to Portland, Oregon again. So that's fun. So we're doing that. Book club, we haven't decided yet. We're actually having book club the night that we're filming this, and we'll discuss and come up with something. So I don't have a book yet. But I do have a really neat idea for my monthly promotion. I always try to pick either a character or a publisher, something to have double points on throughout the month. And January started off a little squirrely. We had some really light weeks. We had a real big middle of December and then a bunch of really slow weeks. And it was slow and I was getting concerned about how things were going. And out of the blue, another retailer, Mark Hammond, who has a store out in New York, Yeah Comics, messaged me on Facebook Messenger just to kind of out of the blue, hey, how you doing? And I just kind of vented on him a little bit and he responded and really picked up my spirits. So I want to give a shout out to Mark, and as a secondary job for him, he is a retailer liaison for Aftershock Comics. So I want to give him a little shout out and thank him for that. So we're doing Aftershock Comics this month. I know I did it last year, but I wanted to point them out again because they are really a neat company with a lot of neat books, a real variety of stuff from horror to science fiction, fantasy. So we're going to do a spotlight on Aftershock this month. So come on in, we'll point them out to you. We'll have a little display set up so you can check out their books. So that's a big shout out to Mark. So let's get into the books that are coming out because there actually is a lot of number ones, just not a lot of big events, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the world of comics. And we'll start with Marvel because they always seem to have the most going on every month, or at least the most number ones they seem to like. First off, Wolverine number one. Wolverine is finally back with his series. They killed him off, and he was dormant for 3 or 4 years, and then he came back, and nobody's really sure how he came back, but he's back. And he's been in the X-Men books, and finally he's back to getting his own book. And this is by Benjamin Percy and Adam Kubert. Benjamin Percy, probably not a huge name yet, but he did a fascinating podcast. It was like a radio play of Wolverine and had a really, really good voice for Wolverine. So I'm really looking forward to his take on it. And basically, his whole family is together and safe on Krakoa, and he has everything he's ever wanted, and he's also at his most vulnerable. So we'll see where that goes, but a new Wolverine series. And we have some facsimile editions for Wolverine going along with that. They're doing a reprint of Wolverine #1 by Claremont and Miller, which was the miniseries that they did. And then we're also getting a facsimile edition of #1 by Chris Claremont and John Buscema that started his first series. We're also getting a Marvel Tales Wolverine, which is one of those big $8 reprint books, but it's going to have a lot of great Wolverine stories in it. We're also getting X-Men Fantastic Four. This is fun because it's by Chip Zdarsky and Terry Dodson. And this is kind of bridging the world of X-Men and Fantastic Four. And in House of X or Powers of X, there was a scene where the Fantastic Four arrested Sabretooth, and the mutants, Cyclops specifically, came through and said, nope, he's one of ours, you can't arrest him, we'll take him with us. And he made a snide, or just a little offhand comment saying, and tell Franklin we're ready for him whenever he wants to come. And this is going to be the story over the battle for Franklin Richards, who, while he is a member of the Fantastic Four family, he's also a mutant, and so he's welcome on Krakoa with the rest of the mutants. So this should be interesting. Jonathan Hickman is also doing a series of giant-size X-Men one-shots focusing on different characters. And the first one they're doing is Jean Grey and Emma Frost. And basically, Storm is in danger, and only the combined power of the great psychics, Jean Grey, or mental powers of Jean Grey and Emma Frost can save her. Also, tying in with the new TV show that's coming, we're getting Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And basically somebody tried to take out the Winter Soldier and led him to find the Falcon to defeat the great evil. Ant-Man is back, everybody's favorite from the movie. Basically, desperate to raise his daughter's opinion of him, Scott Lang takes a job from local beekeepers only to uncover a global conspiracy that could topple the world order. This is a little 5-issue miniseries. Nebula is also getting a miniseries. She's, I think, the last character from Guardians of the Galaxy that hasn't had one. So this is going to expand on her role as daughter of Thanos and sister to Gamora. 2090 or Iron Man 2020 is continuing, and there's a couple. They're doing a bunch of True Believer books, which is going to be first appearance of various characters that are appearing in that series, and then we're also getting a couple of just little two-parters. We're getting a Machine Man two-parter and also a Force Works two-parter, which is going to focus on War Machine. Basically, in 2020, AI is trying to take over the world, and so there's the Machine Man is trying to decide what side he wants to be on, and War Machine has gathered his Force Works crew to fight the robots. Marvel Voices is a new one that's coming. It's a giant one-shot, and I guess Marvel Voices is a podcast where they're telling kind of different stories of characters with different writers and different kind of voices that we've seen before. So this is a big one-shot reinterpreting some of those. Gwen Stacy is getting a miniseries, and it's her story before she met Peter Parker, because she just wasn't just a cute girl. She had a lot going on, so we'll find out what's that. Marvel Avengers Hulk is spinning out of the video game. They've done a bunch of these so far. There's been a Thor and a Spider-Man, and now we're getting a Hulk one. Fantastic Four Grim Noir is a grim and dirty thing story from the world of the Fantastic Four. Spirits of Ghost Rider, Mother of Demons is the story of Lilith, and she has spawned every great evil that has plagued man, and it's her story. And Savage Avengers Zero. Before the next story with Kulan Goth, they're touching on some of his former appearances, and they're reprinting 2 X-Men issues. I think it's 190 and 191, and doing a new framing sequence for those. So this is kind of just a little special issue along the regular storyline. Avengers 31, this is the Temptation of Tony Stark. This is a special oversized one-shot where Tony is trapped in an icy cave at the dawn of time, and he's lost most of his armor and a good chunk of his mind, and he has to find his way back. There's a new miniseries, Conan, Battle for the Serpent Crown, where Conan finds himself in present-day Las Vegas. Okay. We're also getting a Dark Agnes miniseries. She was one of the characters from the prior Conan miniseries. She's an old Robert E. Howard swordswoman in getting her first comic series. Conan also starts, number 13 is a new story arc with a new writer. Jim Zub is taking over for Jason Aaron. And then biggie, Star Wars Darth Vader. They're getting a new Darth Vader series. This is by Greg Pak. And this starts in the aftermath of Empire Strikes Back. He just told Luke that he was his dad, and Luke decided to let go and fall away. And how does Darth Vader deal with that? What happened between that and Return of the Jedi? Now getting on to DC Comics, we're getting a Flash 750, a big anniversary issue for that, with a whole bunch of special covers. And it's going to be another one of those compilation books with a bunch of different stories. I think it's going to probably be wrapping up the current storyline and starting the next one. Batman is getting a Batman Pennyworth R.I.P., where they're going to reflect on the life of Alfred and what all he meant to Batman and the whole Bat family. There's a new series, Amethyst. This is from Amy Reeder, and Amethyst is a girl who's a normal girl in our world, but she's a princess in Gemworld. And this has her going back to Gemworld at some point and finding Gemworld gone. All of her people are missing. Other evil people have taken over, and she has to battle her way through that. Deceased Unkillables, spinning out of the really fun Deceased story, which was the end of the DC universe due to basically a computer virus from Darkseid. This is a story of how the villains acted and how they responded when the heroes failed to save the world and what was going on Earth after the heroes left. DC Crimes of Passion is their Valentine's Day book. They always do a seasonal big $10 anthology, and that's the one coming out this year. Green Lantern Season 2. We had Green Lantern, then we had a 3-issue Black Stars little mini-series in between, and now we're starting up with Season 2, Number 1, with Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp back on art, and it's going to be starting off dealing with the Black Star, the fallout from that event. Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey, in case you haven't seen the ads, there's a new movie coming. So we're getting a new book by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor dealing with Harley and the Birds of Prey to kind of tie in with the movie. It's a black label book, so it's going to be a little darker, a little edgier. So that should be fun to see where they go with that. Leviathan Dawn is a one-shot following up Event Leviathan, where the character Leviathan had taken down all of the intelligence departments in the DC universe, trying to change the world, and was stopped by the heroes, but this is now the next step, so we'll see where this is going. Then they have a couple facsimile editions coming out as well. There's Flash 123, which is the Flash of Two Worlds stories, the classic story, you'll recognize the cover, and then Green Lantern number 1, his first issue from back in the 60s. There's also a new Joe Hill book coming, The Plunge number 1. And this is neat. It's written by Joe Hill. This one's drawn by Stuart Immonen, which is interesting because he retired after his run that he did at Marvel. And when Joe Hill was talking to the editor, he said he wanted somebody who could draw like Stuart Immonen. And the editor said, well, let me make a call. And Stuart said, I'd be happy to do this. So that's kind of cool. So he's back. But basically, in the aftermath of a devastating tsunami, an exploration vessel begins sending an automated distress signal from a remote atoll. The only problem is the ship went missing 40 years ago. And so when they go to find it, they find that the people that they thought were dead aren't. So, good old horror story. Superman Villains is a one-shot by Brian Michael Bendis about how the villains respond to Superman revealing his identity to the world. Justice League Dark, I'm excited about this. It has a new writer on it who's Ram V, who I've been very impressed with. He's actually doing the book club book that we're doing in January, which is These Savage Shores. He's now taking over Justice League Dark, and the first one is dealing with the after effects of the Floronic Man becoming so powerful unexpectedly, and how the Parliament of Nature deals with that. And Justice League 40 also starts a new run where Scott Snyder's run has ended, and now Robert Venditti is taking over. And basically the story is led by Superman's nemesis, Eradicator. He's from way back at the Battle of the Supermen after Superman died. A genetically engineered superpower strike team has come to subjugate Earth to their will. So that's what's going on at DC. Now we'll get to some of the other companies. Starting off with Image, they have a bunch of new ones. We have After Realm Quarterly. This is by Michael Avon Oeming. Now, he's probably best known for Powers. He was the artist on Powers, and he's done a lot of other things. But he's doing this one where it's in the aftermath of Ragnarok. Una, an elven ranger, sets out in the post-apocalyptic chaos to discover the fate of the old gods. So it's going to be a quarterly one, a big oversized, chunky book. So we'll see how that goes. On the Stump is an interesting one. Back in 1968, at a pivotal presidential debate, things went very drastically violent. And now candidates are decided by who can best each other in a physical fight that are called stumps. So in this world, the way this goes now, even if violence doesn't end in the ring, and powerful people can murder without repercussions. And another one called Tartarus. That's a promising young cadet. Tilde is framed for crimes against the Empire after discovering her mother was the ruthless warlord of the deadly colony of Tartarus. And now her only way to reclaim her mother's, or get back, is to reclaim her mother's dark throne. So, fun, outer spacey stuff. Okay. Dark Horse has a bunch of neat ones. Predator Hunters 3, getting back to the world of Predator. Raphael was a drug runner until his whole crew was wiped out by a predator. He has since joined the Predator Hunters, which is a team designed to hunt predators, and another drug cartel soldiers are being killed in Central America, and he's going on to take that fight. Bang is an interesting one from Matt Kint, where there's a bunch of different people. There's a mystery writer, a secret agent, a man of action who has special medicine that gives him powers, are all held together by this science fiction writer. And their lives are all intertwined, and the fate of the world is in the balance of the four of them. Black World, The Morning After. This was a neat story by Evan Dorkin about kind of a occult boarding school, and this is the second volume of that. Hellboy BPRD are back with the return of Effie Kolb with a new little two-parter. Tomorrow is a new Burger book written by Peter Milligan. And basically a computer virus has jumped from the computer to people and wiped out all the adults, and now the adolescents are in charge of the world, whether they like it or not. Another one called Hidden Society, and this is by Raphael Albuquerque. And basically, hidden from ordinary eyes, there's a world alongside our own full of deities, demons, and danger, where magic wins over science, and dark secrets lie in wait. So, IDW has some neat stuff. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Jennika book. Jennika is the new female turtle, where she was mutated into a turtle, and this is going to be her story and her trying to deal with the changes that have happened to her. There's a new Crow story, if you're a fan of the Crow. And then they're doing a bunch of Valentine's Day specials that are going to be interesting. There's a Napoleon Dynamite, a Star Trek Year 5, and a Transformers. You don't really think of love amongst the Transformers, so we'll see where that one goes. Also, for them, Marvel Action Avengers is back with a new #1. Those have been really good kids' books. It's nice to have those to put in kids' hands when they're not quite old enough for the regular ones. Not so much not old enough, but they're not going to understand a 6-part story and following that, where they just need, a fun book with the Hulk and Thor fighting. Dynamite has a new one. It's a new Army of Darkness book called Death to the Army of Darkness. And some of the Deadites are attacking Ash, and one of them has cast a spell making Team Ash. So we're going to have a whole bunch of Ashes fighting a whole bunch of Deadites. They're also doing a neat one. It's a James Bond original graphic novel hardcover that has 6 short stories in it, but they've got some really good writers. They are Benjamin Percy, Greg Pak, Andy Diggle, Gail Simone, Mark Russell, and Vita Ayala, who's doing the current James Bond book. So that should be interesting. Boom has some neat stuff. Alienated is a new one from Cy Spurrier, where it's a coming-of-age story where these teenagers find this alien creature as it's being born, and it has lots of powers. And while they want to use it for good, the basic teenager problems come in, and jealousy and revenge and things like that take over their motivations. There's a neat one. They have an original graphic novel called Eat and Love Yourself, and basically it's about a girl who has an eating disorder, and she finds this magic candy bar that allows her to go back in time. And she goes back and tries to change herself to see if she can actually find a way to love herself without getting into problems of self-image and things. Action Lab has an interesting one called The Argus, and basically time travel is real. The Argus is a temporal law enforcement agency dealing with the space-time continuum until one of its agents goes insane and starts killing the others. The twist is all the members of the Argus are the guy who developed the time travel, but it's him from different points in time. So the only person that can stop him is himself. Aftershock, who we're focusing on, has a couple interesting ones. It's another time travel book, which I noticed was a theme this month. And it's The Man Who Messed Up Time. And basically, he's just a standard office worker working in this for this company that has a prototype time machine. And he decides, well, you know what, if I change this one thing in my past, maybe my whole life would have turned out better. And so he does that, and of course things go haywire, and now he has to go back and try to fix that. They have another one called God Killers, a special forces unit that's tasked with fighting insurgents who use mythological creatures as weapons of mass destruction. And then Undone Blood is another number one that they have. In the early 70s, Ethel returns to her hometown in Arizona to find the man who killed her family and seek revenge. And she discovers that her hometown actually is what she thought was quirky was actually like this deep, dark, secret evil. And there's also a story where she's reading a Western novel and following the paths of both. She's using cues from the book to seek her revenge. Ahoy is back with Captain Ginger Season 2. Captain Ginger was a surprise hit book that I loved, and we did as a book club book, and everybody except Mike loved it, but Mike doesn't like cats. So we're back with Season 2, and the big reveal at the end of Season 1 was that the thing that was trying to contact the cats were actually dogs. So the cats meet the dogs. This should be fun. Mad Cave has an interesting one called Savage Bastards, which is a Wild West story of brotherhood, revenge, and betrayal. Oni has an interesting one called Backtrack, and this is a story of a former getaway driver, Allison, has tried to put her past behind her, and she discovers that there's this great race through space and time, and if you win it, you can undo one bad thing in your past. So she's decided to take that up, and will travel from the dawn of time to the end of the universe to try to win. Scout Comics has an interesting one called Canopus, where this space explorer wakes up on a desolate planet with all the aliens are dead, and she has very little memory of what happened other than a vague knowledge that there was an extinction level event that she was supposed to stop. So she has to try to find a way to get back and stop that. Titan Comics has one called Adler. Irene Adler was the only woman who has ever bested Sherlock Holmes, and now she's getting her own mini-series and bringing in a lot of the Victorian characters. Famous people from science, history, and literature are going to be joining her in this book. Valiant has a new one called Dr. Tomorrow, where teen hothead and star athlete Bart Sims is about to meet Valiant Universe's greatest hero himself. And they also have a Bloodshot Zero. In case you didn't know, Bloodshot is coming out with a movie starring Vin Diesel. So they're coming out with a nice little jumping on point. So if you're not familiar with the character, this would be a great place to jump in, and then you can go to any of the graphic novel series or jump in at the beginning of the current one. Then Vault, who's been doing a lot of really good stuff. They did These Savage Shores. They're doing a great one out right now called The Plot, which is a real good horror book. But they have a new one called Finger Guns, where these two teenagers discover that they can manipulate emotions by using finger guns, pow, pow. And basically what will happen with that one, because they're teenagers. So there will be big tears, there will be laughs, there will be uncomfortable teen feelings and angst, and lots of chaos. And then lastly, we have Zenescope, who does the Grimm Fairy Tales books. They have one new one, Van Helsing versus the League of Monsters. And then they have this series called Conspiracy, and this issue is focusing on Area 51. So that's all the new and exciting stuff going on in the world of comics this month. As usual, the regular books are continuing on. We still have Amazing Spider-Man, Captain America, Thor just restarted, Star Wars just restarted, and at DC we still have all the Superman stuff, the turmoil going on there. The big events in Justice League wrapped up. So lots of stuff going on everywhere. New story just started in Batman. Lots of great places to jump in. Lots of great books. As always, we're really happy to point out anything, and give you some selections and some ideas of things you might like. So remember, Aftershock is my focus for February, so stop in and take a look at what they have to offer. If you have any questions, the website's pittsburghcomics.com. Facebook is Pittsburgh Comics. Twitter and Instagram are PGH Comics. So if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And as always, stay tuned for Comic Previews Theater. Thanks.
AIM has been branching out, distributing technologically altered street drugs to wholesalers to fund their operations. Their advanced idea is to weaponize addiction and move massive amounts of product through the Everglades undetected. You take it from here. What do we do?
I'll move in and make contact with the packages. Prepare them for evac.
Evac? How?
I'm sure you can find a bug with the necessary lift-to-weight ratio.
And if someone sees me?
Boss?
I'll handle it.
Huh? We've been compromised. Retreat!
They'll never know what hit them.
It's a great plan, sensible and smart.
Move! Move!
But then again, it is Friday. How about we live a little?
Huntsman! Jump!
In your face. Whoa, language.
That's kind of a paternal note to give your partner, isn't it?
Well, don't you think that's kind of a partner question to be asking your father? I'm not comfortable with our adventures being rated R.
Hey! Hey! Do you mind putting us down? You really talk with your hands. I know we committed a crime, but I've been sick in one of these masks beforehand. You get it.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Don't apologize to the drug mules, Dad.